Adapters servers configuration. Once we have installed the adapters console and defined a connection with the web service, the next step will be the creation of the adapters. To create an adapter, we just need to click on Create Adapter button, and a configuration window will appear with the following fields. We have name, the name we want to give to the adapter, description, this is optional, sometimes it makes it easier to identify it if we have a lot of adapters, status, whether active, inactive, and we can also specify the time zone. Once we have added all the information to create the adapter, we can start creating the prefixes and suffixes and the structure. We need a name, and we need to indicate a DSN connection, the one we are going to use. We also need to define the data structure. In this case, of the prefixes, we can only choose between the options that are monoregister, as they cannot list several elements, but only data on a specific one. Then, to select the elements from which to get the data for the prefix, we can either use the wizard or the edit window SQL. We also see a few more options, like to read, to update, and prefilter. To read is always selected. To update is never available, as it is not possible to modify the prefix, and prefilter, only available with the structure filter option. It allows filtering through a field in the panel of a class of processes where the connector will act. Here, in this example, we can see an already defined structure for a connector. We will find the list of the fields in the Key Fields tab. In the main window, we can find the Field Types option that identifies the type of data. We also have Link to Suffix. To select ones, serve as link with the suffixes. And Where, fields that would uniquely identify a single record. The Prefilter option will allow us to indicate a panel field that we can prefilter for the data we want to visualize. We can also have another two more options here. Allow filter and show in form. Value of the field that will be displayed in the prefix. Once we have configured everything, we can test that all works correctly. Once we have defined the prefix, we will move into creating the suffixes. The configuration of the window is very similar. We just need to click on Create Suffix, and another window will be opened. In here, we can create all the suffixes we need. It can also be edited using Wizard or the Edit option. Another way to create it is by using the option Get Suffix From. The only fields that will appear here as suffixes are the fields previously marked as Link to Suffix in the connector prefix configuration. To update, available for the suffix as long as we have the necessary permissions in the external database. And then suffix test to check the operation. Let's go now to execution so we can see it properly. For that, we need to go to the adapter server console. And here you can see we have two buttons, Adapters List, Web Service Connections. Adapter List, where we can see all the previously created adapters, and Web Services Connections, where we can see the list of all the connections we have defined in the past. Then we can see an area with all the general data and also the adapter server tree, so we can organize them according to our needs, all the adapters. And then we have the area we edit the adapters. Okay, we have here Create, Edit. If we click on the adapters, on the right one, in this case Technical Course Adapter, we can see that it automatically fills out this data in the Tree tab. So if we go to Create Edit Connector, for example, prefix articles that we have created previously, we can see the main edit window for the connector. Here we can see all the suffixes we have created and some other data. We have the connector prefix here, okay, which is the name. Then we can add a description if we wanted to. And then we have the option script SQL. And if we click on it, we can access to the configuration of the connector prefix extractor. Here we can see the name. We can also add a description. We have the DSN connection and we can test it. We have data structure. Here we need to remember that we can only use the monoregister options for a prefix, okay? So it could only be possible to choose this one or this one. If we go to key fields, okay, we can see we have selected several columns. These columns from the database can be selected going to edit option or with wizard. Usually the operation with adapter server should be performed by a person with SQL and database knowledge. It is quicker to use the edit option, but we can also use the wizard. Let's see how we can add an additional column using wizard. So here we have the data of the database user already. So just click on connect. And once connected, the system offers us a list of all the tables in the database we're using. Let's imagine we are looking for example, I don't know, sales price in the table name party. So we just need to find the table. And select it. And click on next. And here we just need to look for the right data, which is this one, the sales price. Okay. In this screen, we can previously configure the same data that we have already in the key fields tab. We'll see this in a minute. We can configure it here or wait until it's uploaded as the prefix structure and then configure it then. I'm going to configure it here as we are here. Let's link it to suffix. And done. Once we have done, we can test the prefix. Okay, we can even edit it. And let's go. As I don't want to save it, okay, because if we do that, the other operation will be overwritten. I'm just going to click on exit. And it will take me back to the main prefix configuration window. If you look carefully, despite not saving, the data has changed. Can you see? Because we have used wizard. So let's add the correct data back so we can use the connector as it was planned initially. So let's find the table party again. And find the 3 columns we had before. That it was code, provider, and key. Okay. We're going to choose link to suffix in the 3 of them. And also in provider, show in form. And next. Okay. Once we have the columns we want to use ready, we can click on the field types. So field types. Okay, and we have here text. And now I can save and exit. And the only thing left to do would be to link the suffixes again with the fields they had. And here we can see we are missing one. So let's add it first. So for that, let's go to script SQL. And instead of using wizard, which will delete all the configurations that we already have done, we're just going to use edit option. So we just can add the thing we need. And then we need to remember to select link to suffix and also the field types so we can save it properly. And save and exit. And now we can do it. Okay. Article key. And then we have this one that is a bit different because these three are obtained from one table and this one is obtained from a different table. As we want to show the name of the supplier in this prefix, we need to edit this suffix. In this case, we can see that we have two columns here, code and name. If we go to the key fields, we just have to link it. So we have code, the value of the code column, and we want to link it with the proveedor column. Okay, so we just need to link it, and they both will show the supplier code. We want that when these two values are the same, it shows as the name as a value of the article's prefix. All these configurations might seem a bit confusing, so let's go to execution so we can see how it works exactly. We have created a process to see all these, name adapter server. So let's start that process so you can see the form. Adapter server, and we can see here the form. Firstly, we're going to see how we solve the articles we have in the external database. In this case, we have created an adapter connector prefix, name ERPDI article. When we create it, we automatically obtain its suffixes. So when we click here, this window will list all the data, but this data is not in the application, but in the external database. So if we choose one, we can see that the suffixes get automatically filled out. As we mentioned before, we have a different one that we have configured in a different way, supplier's name, as it's part of a different table. And that's why we configure in a different way. If we go back here, we can see, so prefix articles, and is this one supplier name? Okay, that says link with party table. So let's see so you can remember. So we selected two columns, code and name as data for this suffix. The code column is being used as a link with the proveedor one from the other table. And it will list the value that we have in name in our form. In here, we have a field name or a quantic account that when it's solved, it will show a value for the suffix here, the account ERP code, that is going to fill out a series of prefixes and suffixes over here, created in Aura Quantic, but that are obtaining data from the adapter's console, from the connection we have with the external database. So if we select here, for example, Aura Quantic, we can see that some values have been automatically added to the form, okay, to these prefixes and suffixes here. This data, as we mentioned before, it is the external database. It's not in Aura Quantic. If we go back to our adapter console, we can see we also created a prefix name account that is here. If we access to its structure, okay, to the key fields, we can see we're using a pre-filter here. Here we have configured it so it filters through the suffix client's code that we have in our process, the value in the code column in the database. When the value is the same in both, it will list that element automatically, as we have seen 1 second ago in our form.